If you want talk, games, and fun all rolled into one, well, you've come to the right place. This is The Game Show, where host Bradley Clarke and his special guests talk about the world of television game and competition shows. But Bradley's guests aren't here to just talk. They came to play a game as well. What will today's topic be? What game does Bradley have planned? There's only one way to find out.
It's time to start the show.
You heard the man. Welcome to The Game Show. And here's your host, the Bradster himself, Bradley Clarke.
That's right, Austin Angelo. I am Bradley Clarke. This is The Game Show. And everyone listening, welcome to the radio talk show where you can get your fix of topics pertaining to the world of television game and competition shows. And I'm excited to say that this episode you're listening to right now is the 20th episode of The Game Show. That's right, The Game Show is officially 20 episodes old. And I am so thrilled that you're able to join me for this milestone occasion. Now, on a previous episode of The Game Show, I was joined by a man named Ted Slauson, who's the star of the Price is Right documentary, Perfect Bid, the contestant who knew too much, and is the brain behind the Perfect Price is Right showcase bid from 2008.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sharon did all those trips around the world, 4 big trips plus a safari in Africa, $30,525. Actual retail price, $31,019. Difference of $494. Wow! Terry, you had the trailer, jukebox, you bid $23,743. Actual retail price, $23,743. You got it right on the nose. You win both showcases. Hasn't happened since 72 or 73. Right on the nose. You won $56,437 for the prizes today. Folks, help control the pet population. Don't forget to get your pet spayed or neutered. See you next time on Price is Right. Bye-bye.
During Ted's appearance on The Game Show, he talked about how he first got into memorizing the prices of prizes, his experience during the taping of the historic Price is Right episode, and how the documentary came to be. However, as the classic show business line goes, wait, there's more! Ted wasn't the only person featured in the movie. Along with 35-year host Bob Barker, former executive producer of The Price is Right, Roger Dobkowitz, got some well-deserved screen time as well, to give his take on the story. And now, he's on the line with me to talk about the film, as well as relive some priceless memories. Please welcome onto The Game Show, one of the stars of Perfect Bid, the contestant who knew too much, and the executive producer of The Price is Right from 1984 to 2008, the Dob himself, Roger Dobkowitz. Hey Roger, how's it going?
It's going good. It's nice to be here with you, Brad. It really is.
Well, I am so thrilled to have you on the show. First of all, this is my 20th episode, so you are the guest on this milestone episode, so thank you so much.
I love being on a milestone episode. Very good.
And my dream in life is to become a game show host, but I also aspire to be a game show producer just like you, so being able to talk with you about your time executive producing The Price is Right and game shows in general is such a thrill for me.
Okay.
So I want to start off by taking a trip back to memory lane. And you were a producer on many shows and worked on so many shows in the 70s, from Match Game, Double Dare, Now You See It, and of course, Price is Right. Talk a little bit about how you worked your way up to your position in the game show industry.
Well, I wrote a thesis in college about game shows. And when I graduated, here I was with a thesis in my hand. Those were the days when a thesis had to be typewritten. Nowadays, they do video thesis and everything. I had a typewritten thesis that surveyed the first 20 years of primetime network game shows. And I thought, I have to get a job. I have to somehow make money. So I took this thesis, and I decided to send it to all the producers of game shows on TV, as many as I could. I sent out about 20 or 30 theses, and I interviewed with many people, including Monty Hall and Jan Murray and other famous people. I'm going to keep the story short. There's a long version. This is a short version. I got an interview with Mark Goodson, and he decided to hire me for a new show he was starting in Los Angeles. This was an interview in New York, and he said, Roger, I'm going to hire you. You seem to have a lot of initiative, and I'm starting a new show, Price is Right. I don't know what you're going to be doing on the show, but I'll hire you anyway. So I got a job on Price is Right, and I literally had nothing to do. I had no assignments for me because everybody else was hired already, and somebody was in charge of the script, and somebody was in charge of that, and somebody was in charge of that, and I had really no responsibility. And I learned from that, as I tell young people in the business, that sometimes that's the best job to have, as it turned out to me, because since I had nothing to do, everybody started giving me their extra work. The person in charge of the script said, here, help me out with this. The director said, oh, here, help me out with this. The producer said, here, help me out with this. Before I knew it, I was helping everybody out, and I took advantage of that as I learned everything about the show. And then about 10 years later, an opportunity came to become producer of the show. I went to Mark Goodson, and he hired me to become producer because I knew everything about the show. I really did. And that's how I worked my way up to being a producer, just by learning all about the show.
Well, as a young individual myself who aspires to be in the business and knows so much about not only The Price is Right, but so many other different game shows from past, even further from the past and the present, I will take the advice that you just gave the audience, which I'm presuming you also gave me. If you have nothing to do around, make sure that you find something to do and learn your craft as you're picking up all these little jobs.
Exactly. And you will shine above. I have to say one thing right now. What has happened lately in the business is so many young people, I'm sure not you, Bradley, and I'm sure not many of your audience, but I have discovered, especially the last few years I worked on Price is Right, there are too many people in college that are slacking off, and they don't understand the discipline needed to move ahead in this business. I had to interview people for various positions on Price is Right, and I was simply surprised how many people who had appointments with me would show up late or wouldn't even show up and didn't even give me a phone call. So I tell a lot of young people today, if you show up on time for your appointment, you're already ahead of the game because you show up on time for your appointment. 9 other people aren't. So you're ahead of the game. So I'm just saying, please show up in time for your appointment. That's my little PR message.
No, that's excellent advice. And I fortunately have had interviews in the past, and I've shown up on time. So that advice has ring true to me. I'm no slacker. That's why I do shows like this.
That's very good. That's excellent, Bradley. I'm glad to hear that about you. I really am.
Oh, well, I really appreciate that, Roger. I really do. You mentioned when you first started working on The Price is Right that you wanted to know everything there was to know about the show. Now, I too love to know everything there is to know about specific game shows. And over the years, I've piled up a number of curiosities related to The Price is Right because of questions I've never been able to find the answers to. So I have a segment on the game show that I do from time to time with my guests. And Roger, since you're my guest today, I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to relieve some of my curiosities I've had about The Price is Right. It's time for Clarke's Curiosities. Clarke's Curiosities. So my first curiosity is, I know you've created a number of pricing games over the years, I believe 18 to be exact. However, I'm not quite sure of all of the pricing games that have created by Roger Dobkowitz attached to it. So what pricing games did come out of your creative mind?
Oh, I did 10 Chances, Pocket Change, Squeeze Play, the New Balance game. Oh, I did some that were pretty tired, like Split Decision, which is one of my favorites, and Fortune Hunter. I did, we'll pick a number, it's not much of a game. Clearance Sale. Oh, I wish I had a list in front of me. I wish I knew you were going to ask that question. I would have grabbed my list and told you all of them. But those are all the only ones I can think about right now. But you're right, I did do about 18 games on the show.
Split Decision is one of my favorites that have sadly been retired. I always love the games that, put the pressure on contestants with a clock, and especially that game where you're pulling down the numbers and all that. I think that's one of my favorite retired pricing games.
Right. It was just a bad set design that killed the game, so we didn't have the money to fix it, so we just retired it.
And another game that you created, the last one you did was called Gas Money. I'm sure you remember Gas Money.
Oh, Gas Money, that would have been a good game, but they changed it. I was very disappointed. It debuted after I left. Of course, they had the right to change it, and they changed it.
Right. Well, I have a treat for you. We're going to play the game of the day later, and we're actually going to play Gas Money, and we're going to play the version that you created. I formatted it for the rules that you created.
Oh, God bless you, Bradley. Thank you. I mean, the original rules of the game before they decided to wimp out and make it something else. Yes. Oh, very good. Very good. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, I look forward to playing, and I hope you do as well. And
certainly.
My next curiosity is, so many times host Bob Barker would check in with you to clarify about any possible historic moment that may be occurring when the game was being played. And he'd ask you, has this ever happened before? And he'll say, Roger, how many times has this happened before? Is this the first time?
Now, let them roll. All 5. Here they come. How many cars do we... Look at that. Look at that. 5 cars in one row. Is this an historic moment? That, ladies and gentlemen, I have just checked with our beloved producer, Roger Dobkowitz, and he agrees this is the first time a contestant ever rolled all 5 cars in one row. Come on down. You own that car sitting right over there. Congratulations.
So when Bob would ask you about these historic moments, did you actually know the answers to these questions, or were you just guessing?
Sometimes I knew the right answer. Sometimes I gave him the right answer. Sometimes I knew the right answer, but I did not give him the right answer because I knew that was not what he was looking for. In other words, what happened one time, and this is when I realized I had to, make up numbers. We were playing 5 price tags, and the contestant lost on every single small item. Now, I did keep statistics at that moment, and it did happen 10 times before. He just did not remember that. So it happened, and he shouted out to me, he said, Roger, is that the first time that's happened? And I shouted over, no, Bob, it happened about 10 times. And he got, no, oh, no, Roger, you're wrong. And he got all upset by my response. And I learned at that moment that I had to play the game, too. If he was looking for something that he needed to make a big deal about, I had to give him that. I had to sort of agree with him, usually. There were a few times I strongly disagreed, but usually I learned at that moment I had to sometimes fudge my statistics. So I have to admit it. I did not tell the truth all the time.
Well, that's all right, but at least we know that you did know the answers.
Yes, I did. I did keep statistics. I really did. I was kind of a nerd that way when I first started the show. I thought, I'm going to keep these facts here. And I had a big yellow notepad, and I was jotting down stuff and how many times a game was played and how many times a game was won and how much was won. And I kept all that. I was a real Price is Right nerd.
See, I'm a Price is Right nerd, too. And, I miss that interaction between Bob and you on the show where you would go through historical significance. Because as a super fan myself, I would also, too, make sure when something happened, I'd be like, that's never happened before, or that's only happened once, or remember that time when that happened before? And I would do that in my head as well. And whoever I was watching with, either my parents or friends, they'd look at me crazy how I know all this stuff, and I'd get so excited by these historic moments. But I just love that interaction that you and Bob had.
Oh, that's good. Nice to hear that. Thank you.
So my final curiosity is, this is one that I've been wanting to know the answer to for years and years. I think out of all the curiosities I have of The Price is Right, this is the one that I've always wanted to know the answer to.
I'm very interested to hear what that is. Go ahead, Brad.
Why during the Showcase Showdown bonus spin is the big wheel reset to the 5 green space and not the dollar?
Well, that's because, if you set it to the dollar, Oh, yes, of course. See, some of these things I almost forgot. Because the wheel has to get around once, right? Has to get around once for it to count. If you set it to the dollar, you don't have a chance then on a puny spin to win $5,000 on both green spots.
Oh.
So you started out on the 5. So if you do a puny spin and it makes it back to the 5, you get the chance of winning $5,000. So that's why we did that.
You know what? That's so smart. I never realized that.
Yeah, that's why. There's usually a reason why we did everything. Some of those things are very subtle game reasons. And today, fortunately, in game show business, with the lack of not having a Mark Goodson or these other great game show producers out there, they don't get it. They just make up these games and they just don't quite get what they should be doing. And, yeah, there's usually a reason why we did everything. Mark Goodson was a very brilliant man. Bob was very smart, and I picked up a lot of stuff along the way.
Well, one of my goals, as I said before, is to be a game show producer, and I hope to bring back the style that Mark Goodson revolutionized for years, the 70s and 80s styles of game shows. Unfortunately, knowing how television is running now, that's not going to be an easy task, but I hope that one day, at least one of my shows that I hope to ultimately produce gets that feeling of nostalgia game shows in the present day once again.
Right. Very good. I hope you do, Bradley. You know, the biggest thing missing from game shows today, and this is inexperience with game show producers, is that if you look at all the game shows that are successful versus all the game shows that fail, you have the successful game shows, which are the old school game shows. You have the Wheel of Fortune, you have the Price is Right, you have Max Game, even Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. All of those successful game shows, people at home can play along. Then you look on the other side of all these game shows they're creating on the networks now, that's terrible, Candy Crush and those other game shows. If you look at them, they all fail. Why do they all fail? Because people at home were unable to play along. And this is the essence of a successful game show. People at home have to have the ability to play along. Otherwise, it's just a mess, like Candy Crush. I will declare right now, Candy Crush was the worst game show ever put on network television. It was horrible.
You heard it right here. Roger Dobkowitz said it. You heard it right here. Let's put that in the record books.
Did you see Candy Crush?
I did.
There was no way anybody at home could play along. There was absolutely no way. It was just a mess to watch. It was a silly, overproduced show, and it was being produced by some cocky people who thought, we know how to do a game show. No, they didn't. They didn't know how to do it at all, and it failed miserably.
I have to agree with you, and I think there was a flaw in the format as well. See, with that show, I don't want to prolong this too much, but when I thought of what Candy Crush was going to be is that, in the actual mobile app, there are levels, and the point of the game is to go through the levels. So I thought it was going to be just one couple trying to get through the levels. It still would lack the availability of the audience can play unless they had, like when Millionaire used to have, where you can play along with the contestants. They could have done that with the same levels that the contestants were playing along with. But I thought there was going to be levels involved. I think that's what was one of the flaws of the game, is that it wasn't really like the actual mobile app.
Yeah, see, you're onto something there. Yes, exactly. They decided to do something different, though. Yep.
See, this is why I love doing the game shows. I love talking with people like you and learning stuff along the way and hearing your insight of the business, having been through it so many years.
Well, thank you. It's nice to hear that. Thank you.
So thanks for answering my Clark's Curiosities. Clark's Curiosities. So now let's get to the movie. Perfect Bid, The Contestant Who Knew Too Much. Now, I actually had the pleasure of also having Ted Slauson on the game show as well, and we talked about his adventure through not only the movie, but the taping day and his obsession with The Price is Right. So I want to ask you, first of all, related to the movie. So Ted mentioned that, he started realizing from the first season that the same prizes were being repeated on multiple episodes. Now, I know this was due to difficulty of getting sponsors to give the show prizes. But did you ever think that contestants would catch on like Ted did and start memorizing the prices of prizes that constantly were on the show?
We hope they did. We were hoping they did. See, when we first started the show, of course, everything was new. And we really disliked the idea that we had to reuse prices over again. We were like, oh, my God, we have to use the same refrigerator. People will know it's $950. And we were very unhappy with that. And we didn't like doing that. But after a year or two, we were forced to do that because we didn't have enough prizes. We realized people were learning the prizes, which made it kind of fun. People would all of a sudden see that $950 refrigerator and say, $950, and the audience would cheer because they knew that too, and the contestant would get up on stage, and then we began to say, no, you watch every day, and you too can become a good shopper and come down here and win the prizes. And so we encouraged that later on. I mean, we didn't overdo it with repeating the same prizes, but we encouraged people to learn the prices. So it was a good thing for us. We liked it.
See, I love that because I would sit at home every day and watch The Price is Right. This was after school, of course, because, school came first in hierarchy. But in my mind, Price is Right was always first. But I would sit at home and see, that was on last week. That was on this week. Oh, I know that. And it was so much fun for me as the viewer to say, I know that. If I was there, I would get $500 for a perfect bid. Or if I was on stage, I could win a car because I know that that's the price. And actually, one of my favorite contestants ever on The Price is Right was this guy named Michael, and he was in Contestants Row. The item up for bid was a scooter. Bob said, what do you want to bid, Michael? He said exactly $21.48. And Bob said, that's an interesting bid. How did you come up with that? He said, I saw that on the show last week.
Look what the lovely Shane has for you folks to bid on. It's a fun new motor scooter. A motor scooter from Honda, the Elite 80, with its 80cc four-cycle engine. It has plenty of power and is easy to handle for a super fun ride. And you get to bid on this first, Barbara.
$1,700.
$1,700, Michael.
Exactly, $21.48.
His bid is $21.48. That's an interesting bid. How did you settle on $21.48?
I seen that on there last week, and that was the exact price. I know that's what it is. I seen it. I watch you every day. I watch you every day, Bob.
Now, you were laughing and you didn't hear what else he said. He says he watches every day. Now, if he wins this, you'll see that loyalty to this show paid off. What do you bid, Scott? Why bid at all? He has the exact price.
Well, what are the bids so far?
The bids so far are $1,700 and $21.48.
$1,800.
$1,800, Noel.
$1,500.
$1,500 for her. Now, wait a minute here. Michael is already leaping around down there. He says he's got it. Now, we'll just find out whether you got it or not. We have a lot of scooters, First number is 2. $2,148. You got it exactly right. You got it exactly right.
Yes. What you just said proves my point about playing along. Being at home, you were playing along. You were a contestant. You were being smart. You were being clever. You remember that price, and you felt good about yourself. And perfect point there, why we did that. See, they don't understand that on today's Price is Right. They think they've got to have different prices all the time to make it hard. People want to play along at home. They want to know that the giant gumball machine is $999. They feel good about themselves when they guess it. This is why they just don't get it. The people who are taking care of prices right now just don't get it.
That's so funny because I play the Price is Right Wii game at home, and the gumball machine I always know is $999. So that's pretty funny.
Exactly. We had so much fun with that gumball machine. That would come around the turntable. And the contestant row. Okay, the first contestant would say $550. The audience would, oh no, $999. And the next contestant would then say $240. No, the audience would go $999. And the next contestant would say $700. No, the audience would be saying $999. And then the last contestant would say $999, and the whole audience would burst out and cheering and everything. That was all so much fun, which they don't have anymore.
Well, I'll give you my promise. If I ever get to work on The Price is Right, and maybe I'll get to become the producer, I will make sure that the format that you created and Mark Goodson established and that good vibe that you put into place will be brought back on the show.
Oh, well, thank you. I will say a prayer then for you.
And I'll give you credit. I'll say this was because of Roger Dobkowitz and Mark Goodson and all the greats that came before me.
Oh, very good. Very good. I like that, Bradley.
And Bob Barker, of course, as well.
Yes, very good.
So, actually, you bring up a point about what the show does and does not do, and I feel like what you were saying about, repeating the prize is that super fans are not really immortalized or given credit anymore because of them not being able to repeat prizes as much anymore. And part of the reason was probably because of what the movie is about, the perfect showcase bid that took place in 2008. And it drives me crazy when these pricing games have been around for so many years, like cliffhangers, and there's a similar setup every time. And if you know the setup and you are a super fan, you've been watching, even if you watched the game like 3 times, you can pick up on it. And these contestants, they don't get it, and they come up there and they don't know what they're doing. It drives me crazy. So did you like featuring contestants who exemplified the super fan status when you were the producer?
Oh, we did. Exactly. We wanted winners on our show. We wanted people to win. I mean, of course, we couldn't have them win all the time, but we wanted them to win. We enjoyed it when they played 10 chances and they knew about the last number being a 0. We liked that, and we encouraged that. When we picked people out in line and we could see that they were a super fan, we would make them a contestant on the show. As I understand it now from people who talk to me backstage and in the audience, it's hard for the current show to get those super fans anymore. They're getting a different type of audience. Matter of fact, they have to buy their audience. I don't know whether you knew that or not. Our shows used to always overfill with people. We had to turn away hundreds of people. Apparently, that's not happening anymore on the show, and they have to actually pay people to come to the show.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yes, they do. They put on casting calls, and you come, and I think they pay $50 a body. You get $50 for being there at least 2 hours, and it fills up the seats and everything.
Wow. If only I was old enough years ago to go to the show or even be alive. And I was such a super fan, so I know I would get picked. I just know it.
I bet you would. We were looking for not only people who knew the games, we were looking for enthusiastic people. And you seem to be very enthusiastic and seem to be very interesting. So I would say right now, you would probably be a shoo-in to be a contestant. If I would have interviewed you, or our other interviewer would interview you, Stanley, I'm sure he would have picked you. Yes.
Oh, well, I really appreciate that. I know every single game. I know all the old games, how to play those as well. I know the strategies, like you mentioned, the car always ends in 0. I knew that. I know my way around The Price is Right.
You sound like you do, Bradley. You really do sound like you do.
And you should see me when I watch the show. I get as excited, even more excited sometimes than the contestants.
Oh, you do?
And don't get me started when the contestant doesn't know what they're doing. You should see me scream at the television.
Yeah, I bet, yes.
So when Terry Neese made the perfect $23,742 showcase bid, the year was 2008, Price is Right's 37th season, and this was the first season after you left the show. So you were just like myself. You were a viewer of this historic moment. So as you were watching the showcase round play out, what was your initial reaction after the perfect bid was revealed?
I can tell you how I reacted and how Bob and I would have reacted. We would have been so excited. First of all, I couldn't believe how they didn't treat this as anything special. I mean, I've heard they edited that tape quite a bit, and then they really played down everything. And I just couldn't believe they did that, because this should have been a moment to rejoice. Bob and I would have been so excited. Bob would have turned this into the biggest thing ever. He would have made it such an exciting reveal. The audience would have stood up and cheered. Afterwards, there would have been interviews with Bob, with Terry. Terry missed out on interviews because he was the one that made the perfect bid. It would have made the news. It would have gotten the newspapers that such a thing happened. It would have been a wonderful deal for us, and they completely blew it. This was one of the biggest errors ever in game show producing 101. It was like, what were they thinking? And it's a shame. They had a wonderful moment here, and they completely blew it.
I have to agree, because just the way that Drew announced it was very somber. And even though Drew said that it happened in 1972 or 73, I don't know from my knowledge that this has ever happened. Ted, when I talked to him, he said he doesn't know. I'm sure there was never a 72 or 73 perfect showcase bid that you know of, right?
I don't know whether it's true or not, but there is some people who think it happened on the nighttime Dennis James version, but nobody knows for sure.
Even if it did happen on the Dennis James version, it never happened on the daytime version, so this has never happened before.
We were hoping something like this would happen from day one, because I remember having a meeting with Jay Wolpert, the original producer. I was in charge of the displays and the showcase reveal. And he said, Roger, what are we going to do when somebody gets it right on the nose? Are we just going to show 1 0? Are we going to show a whole bunch of zeros going across the board for the difference? Or are we going to show nothing? And we had a meeting about that, what to show. And so we were prepared for that. But, of course, it never happened during Jay Wolpert's reign. It never happened during my reign. And it happened, unfortunately, 6 months after I left. If it only happened while I was there, it would have been a big deal.
Right, and you were mentioning that there was no real interviews, or it wasn't really highly publicized. You know, that was something that I thought was going to be all over the news. And especially in today's day and age where the prices of showcases can be really anything. I mean, you came close on the first ever episode to getting a perfect bid. Brad fact. The second person to ever come on down, or in his case, to stand up, was Paul Levine. And he bid $2,500 for a showcase, with the actual retail price being $2,504.
Paul, I want you to tell me now what you believe is the total retail price of all of the wonderful gifts in your showcase.
Say about $2,500.
$2,500. She's only $557 away. Paul, you must be closer than that in order to win the car. Let's see. $2,504. He is only $4 away. You've won the car, Paul. Congratulations.
But now that the prices and prizes can be anything, it's so much harder to get a perfect bid, and just nothing really came out of it.
No. I chalk this up to total inexperience by the people running the show. Okay, let's just say you are suspicious that cheating took place. You know, there is a possibility cheating could take place. He could have been handed a note by somebody on the staff, you know, what the right bid was. Okay, that's the extreme. Okay, you have a suspicion it's cheating. How do you handle it? You don't make a big deal about if you think it's cheating or not. You go with it. You make the big celebration. Then afterwards, if you think there's cheating, then you investigate. You find out, did this guy cheat? Let's find out now. And let's just say you did find out he cheated. That's also a win, because you make a big announcement everywhere. We discovered so-and-so cheated. He is not going to get his prizes, and you become the good guy again. You investigated, and you discovered a cheater, and you deprived him of his prizes. The show wins in that category, too. And if he turns out not to be a cheater, you still have this wonderful, wonderful moment of a contestant who got it right on the nose. And that's what you do. You have a win-win situation rather than what they did was a loss-loss situation. Total example of not knowing what they're doing, unfortunately.
Right, because they stopped tape for about 10, 15 minutes just to see what happened.
I heard it was longer. I know Ted says it was 10 or 15 minutes, but I heard from people backstage it was like a 45-minute stop-down. So Ted was probably nervous and didn't remember that it was so long. But I heard it was a long stop-down as they investigated. What were they going to do? What were they going to do? If they found out it was cheating, what were they going to do? Were they going to throw out the whole entire show and end the show right then? This is why they weren't thinking. Go on with the show. Finish the show. It drives me crazy. I'm sorry, I'm getting very excited now, Bradley.
Don't worry, I would get just as excited too. This actually reminds me of, there was a contestant on the British version of Millionaire. His name was Charles Ingram, and he was caught cheating on the show. What happened was he got in contact with one of the fastest finger contestants that he knew, And when he saw the question, he would read out every answer choice. And when he said the correct answer choice, or when he got around to what was the correct answer choice, the guy in the fastest finger, his name was Tequin-Whittick, he would cough. And that would be the signal to Charles Ingram that was the correct answer.
I would have thought that it would be Aristotle and Onassis. Could be any of them, really. But I think it's cricket, but I'm not sure. But the reason I think it's cricket is because I'm sure I've seen a print. I'm not sure, but I think it's a hat. I think it's one of those really sort of tall hats that sort of came into fashion, presumably when he was Prime Minister.
And at first it worked, but then they found out, they reviewed the tape, and you could hear Tequin-Whittick in the fastest finger chair coughing when Charles Ingram was reading the answers, and that's how he got the correct answers. He ended up losing his £1 million because they found out, and of course he denied it and whatnot, but that reminds me of the exact same thing. You know, they didn't stop tape. They let it roll. He won his $1 million right then and there, and then they did an investigation, and they found that he did cheat. But the point is that they did play it out. They didn't stop right in the middle and say, okay, we have to stop and check the tapes and whatnot and pause for an hour. They played the game, and then they found out what really happened.
Right. See, that's the way to do it. Now, that show's being run by an experienced producer, I bet. He knew exactly what to do. He knew exactly how to do it and everything. See, one of the problems at that time with The Price is Right, there's a lot of great people out there. I know some of them, and they should have been hired for a producer, but for some reason, they hired this person who is basically a performer. He's a performer. He's a game show host. And they made him producer of The Price is Right. And he doesn't have experience. I mean, he can be a host, but that doesn't mean you have experience as producing the show. And unfortunately, he made, in my opinion, a terrible decision here.
So say you were a fly on the wall in the studio that day, watching this taping and seeing them stop tape for however long they did, and seeing Drew's reaction when he revealed the price. What would you say to the people in charge?
I would say, what are you, all idiots or something? I would have said, what are you thinking? You know, they just didn't know what they were doing. They just didn't know what they were doing. You have the producer who's really a game show host. Matter of fact, he actually hosted Pyramid while he's producing Price is Right. That's where his heart is. And then you have Drew Carey. When you're a host of a show, even though you don't have the title executive producer, when you're the host and the star and somebody's paying you $10 million a year, you really are the executive producer of the show. And he doesn't know how to do the show either. And so you have these people running this wonderful, wonderful franchise that's been on all these years, and they don't know how to do it. In my opinion, there were other great people they could have hired. And they made the mistake of hiring, in my opinion, Drew Carey, and they made a mistake in hiring this producer they had.
They should have hired me.
Yes, you understand game shows. You see, there was actually a couple of people on the staff of The Price is Right that were under me that would have made far better producers than the person they hired, because they understood the show, and they understood how games work, and they understand what the viewer needs. See, you can't forget about what the viewer needs. The viewer has certain needs, and you've got to give it to them. Oh, now you got me going. You see, you got me going here.
Well, when there's a game show conversation involved, I have that effect on people sometimes.
I worked a year with Drew Carey, and Drew Carey, unfortunately, a lot of people like him, granted. He has, a personality. People like him. But he's not a host. And I'll tell you why he's not a host. I worked with him for a year, and CBS and Fremantle Media, they really didn't care for him either. There was some high guy at CBS that really liked him. And they would come up to me and say, Roger, tell him, when he does a reveal, he doesn't ever tease it. He doesn't get into the reveal of a prize. So I went up to Drew and I said, Drew, when you make a reveal and they lose, why didn't you go something, oh, that's so terrible. Oh, if you only would have picked the other one rather than this one, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you'll make it more exciting that way, even when they lose. And he said, no, Roger, I don't want to do that because it might make the contestant feel worse. We're not here for the contestant, Drew. I didn't say that to him. I said, we're here for the viewer. There's 8 million people out there that want to be excited. Then there was another time at the wheel. Oh, CBS hated this. At the wheel, he would always say, is there anybody you want to say hello to? He's spinning the wheel. Is there anybody you want to say hello to? And he would ask every single contestant that. Now, as a viewer, all I'm hearing is, I want to say hello to my husband, my wife, my daughter, my brother. My husband, my wife, my daughter, and brother. That's my boyfriend, my girlfriend. That's all you would hear over and over again, just these pronouns. So I went up to Drew and I said, Drew, you don't have to ask them who they want to say hello to every time they're spinning the wheel. Ask them, like, how did you get here? Who got the tickets? Who's in the audience? Or other things. He said, no, Raj, I don't want to do that because this is the only chance they get to say hello to somebody. But, Drew, we don't care that much about the contestants. We're worried about 8 million people watching. Of course, I didn't tell him that. And the final thing that was like the last straw, he would play a game, like Money Game, and he would say, what's your choice? What numbers do you want to pick? And he would just stand there while the contestant would look out in the audience, would go back and forth, and he wasn't pushing them along. I said, Drew, you got to say, oh, my God, what's your decision? What do you want? What numbers do you want? We're only a 60-minute show. The soap opera's going to come up soon. I said, you got to rush them along. Get them going. And he said, no, Raja, I don't want to rush them along because they might make a mistake if I rush them along. And I realized at that moment was the end of The Price is Right. Because what they started doing then, we had to edit all that out, all that waiting time. They edit it out all now, apparently. If they make a decision, they've edited out 30 seconds of indecision by the contestant. And you lose the excitement. Every game, even checkers, has a time limit. It makes it exciting. Checkers, the other player will say, hurry on, don't take forever with your choice. Move, move, move. But you've lost that from Price is Right. There's none of that, like Barker used to say, what do you want? What do you want? Make a decision. The show has lost all of that excitement. So, there, I said it all.
Do you think Mark Goodson would feel the same way about the show as well? Because I would love to know what Mark Goodson thinks of Price is Right, Family Feud, and all his shows that are still on the air now.
People who pass away can't really speak for him, but I would say Mark Goodson would most likely completely agree with me. Mark Goodson would, all of his shows, Match Game, Price is Right, Family Feud, were always taped live to tape. No show is done that way anymore now. Even Price is Right takes an hour and a half or 2 hours to tape. And Mark Goodson only knew how to tape a show live to tape. And when you do it live to tape, you have all that excitement. You have all that hurry up kind of feeling. You have that all a little bit rough at the edges type of feeling. It's a real reality show. And that's the only way Mark Goodson ever did his shows. They were always taped live to tape. Match Game was live to tape. It was one of the best shows ever. Price is Right with Bob Barker, live to tape. Exciting show. Now, all these shows, we'll take an hour to do a half an hour show. We'll take 2 hours to do an hour show. We'll edit it down, and you lose half the excitement because you do it that way.
And speaking of Bob, I'd love to know how you and him got involved with the film Perfect Bid. When you first heard about it, did you know right away you wanted to be a part and you wanted Bob to be in it as well?
Well, I didn't know about Bob. I wanted to be in it right away because I really felt for Ted Slauson, and I wanted to tell the story. I told Bob about it, and I did my bid, and then I told Bob about it. I said, Bob, do you want to be involved with a documentary? And I really expected him to say, no, I'm fine. But I told him all about the documentary, and he said, sure, Roger, which sort of surprised me. I was like, whoa, you really do, Bob? And he then got involved with it, and they taped an interview with him.
Well, I'm so glad he is involved. Last year, I wrote Bob a fan letter saying how he's influenced me so much, and I've loved growing up watching him. And he actually sent me back a couple of photos signed, one of them saying his famous phrase, loyal friend and true. So Bob Barker called me a loyal friend and true, which means the world to me, because that's when you know you are a super fan of The Price is Right, when you're a loyal friend and true, said by Bob Barker.
That's right. And Bob is great that way. See, he answered your letter, and he gave you a signed picture. He was always very thoughtful that way. He would, at the end of the taping session, Bob would take home maybe 100 of his publicity photographs that CBS would make up for him, and he would take them home and he would sign them all individually. And there was one time when, and this was, of course, years ago, new technology came, and they said, Bob, we can have your signature imprinted on the photograph, so you don't have to sign them anymore. And he said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to send somebody a photograph that I haven't signed. That's not very nice. That's not what they want. They want a real autograph from me. And he actually turned that down because he feels he owes something to his fans. He and I would go out to dinner every so often, and usually people respect him. We would go to a Mexican restaurant. People usually respect his space, but sometimes people would come up to him, and he could be in the middle of eating something, and they would say, Bob, oh, I'm so excited to meet you. Can I have my picture taken with you? And he would turn to them, smile, even though he was in the middle of eating, and he would say, certainly. And he would stand up with a big smile on his face and take his picture with them. After he sat down again, I said, Bob, you're in the middle of dinner, and you're so nice to these people. And he said, Roger, if it wasn't for these people, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I owe them something. And I thought to myself, there's so many Hollywood stars who would never do that. You know, would a Dustin Hoffman do that? Would an Al Pacino do that? They disdain their fans. And here's Bob realizing that if it wasn't for these fans, he wouldn't be in the position he was. So he has a very, very good side of him.
Well, next time you see Bob, please tell him for me that I say thank you from the bottom of my heart for reading my letter and for signing the photos and for being such an inspiration to me since I was 10 years old.
I sure will. I will be happy to do that for you.
Well, thank you. Tell him that the future of game shows is bright as long as I'm in it.
Right. I hope I haven't taken up too much of your time because I talk too much sometimes. So I'm throwing the show back to you.
That's perfectly all right. Actually, it's a good segue because now we're going to get to my favorite part of the game show. It's time to play the game of the day.
Game of the day.
Okay.
So
I hope I can play it.
You're going to do great. So as I mentioned before, we're going to play the final game that you ever created for The Price is Right. It's time to play Gas Money. Gas Money. And here's how we play this edition of Gas Money, Roger. The game is divided into 3 rounds, and for each round, I'll read you a question that pertains to an historic Price is Right moment from the Bob Barker era. Then I'll list off $5 amounts that go along with that question, one of which is the correct dollar amount answer to that question. Now, as I've mentioned on the show, the Gas Money rules have been modified from the original rules you created, but Roger, you're going to play the game by the rules you originally crafted. So that means for each round, you will pick the dollar amount you think is the correct answer to the question. Then you'll choose the other 4 dollar amounts one by one, hoping to reveal points, which means those were not the correct answer to the question. There's a dollar amount worth 1,000 points, 2,000 points, 3,000 points, and 4,000 points. So basically, for those of you listening who have never seen the original version of Gas Money, the goal for each round is to pick the correct dollar amount total first, and then one by one reveal all of the other incorrect dollar amount totals to build up points. If you can successfully do that, Roger, you'll earn 15,000 points for the round. Now, after every pick that you reveal points, you can stop and bank whatever amount of points you've accumulated that round. Because if you pick again and you reveal the correct answer, you lose all of the points you've accumulated so far in that round. And in order for you to win, Roger, by the end of the 3rd round, you need to accumulate a total of 20,000 points or more.
Okay.
So those are all the rules you need to know. Roger, right here on the game show, are you ready to play a version of a pricing game that you originally created?
Yes.
Then let's play Gas Money. And we're going to start with round 1. Here comes your first question. What was the price of the first ever car offered on the new Price is Right from the September 4th, 1972 episode?
Okay.
And a little bit of background information. The car was a Chevrolet Vega, and it was one playing any number, which I'm sure you know was the first ever game played on The Price is Right.
Yeah, I see it! It's a car! This Vega camback wagon from Chevrolet features bucket seats, power steering, front disc brakes, AM radio, and white striped tires. It handles like a little sports car. Vega from Chevrolet, building a better way to see the USA.
Okay.
So here come the 5 car totals, one of which is the correct answer. 2,839, 2,461, 2,573, 2,746, and 2,105. That's 2839, 2461, 2573, 2746, and 2105. One of them is the correct price, the first ever car offered on The Price is Right. So pick which one you think is the correct answer.
I'll pick number 2.
2461?
Yes.
All right, so that's the one that you pick. So now we're going to start revealing ones that you hope to have point values on the back of it. So which one do you want to reveal first?
Give me that last one you said.
2105? Let's see how much that's worth. That is worth 1,000 points. All right.
Okay. Reveal the first one.
2,839?
Yes.
Okay, let's see how many points that's worth. 4,000 points. You have 5,000 points for this round. Now remember, keep in mind, you can stop with the 5,000 because if you end up picking the correct answer, you lose those points.
Okay. Reveal the third one there.
The third one, 2573, 3,000 points. Okay, now we have 8,000 points. One of them is the correct answer. So either you have the correct answer or you did not pick the correct answer. So you can reveal the other one and risk your 8,000 points, or you can stop with 8,000. Remember, you have to get 20,000 by the end of the third round.
What's the one that's left over?
2746.
You know what? I'm going to stop.
Respectable
I'm going to stop because I'm not quite sure.
But you did excellent in the first round. You got 8,000 points. And I'm happy to say that good thing you stopped because 2746, the one you did not pick, was the correct answer.
Oh, I'm not very good at memorizing numbers. I knew there was a 4. I knew there was a 4 in the number, and it was either that one or the other. Oh, good. I'm glad I stopped. Hey, I'm a pretty good game player so far.
That's right. You can do more than just produce and create. You can play, too.
Yes.
So you have 8,000 points, and we're moving on to the second round.
Okay.
Here comes the question. On The Price is Right's 35th season premiere, contestant Vicky Ann, at the time, became the biggest winner in the history of daytime Price is Right. How much did Vicky Ann win? And here come the totals for you to choose from. $147,517, $121,836, $159,364, $165,297, or $138,423. One of those was the highest ever total won in Price is Right Daytime that took place on the 35th season premiere by contestant Vicky Ann. That's $147,517, $121,836, $159,364, $165,297, and $138,423. So which one do you want to pick as your answer?
I will take the 121.
You're going to pick 121,836, okay? All right, now which total do you want to reveal first?
The very last one.
138,423. That's good for 4,000 points.
Okay. The fourth one.
165,297. That's good for another 1,000 points. So you have 5,000 points. You can stop with that. That would put your total to 13,000. Remember, you need 20,000 by the end of the third round.
I'm going to help you out, Bradley, and I'm going to quit right now to make the third round more exciting.
You producer, you.
So I'm going to quit right now. I want to make this as exciting as possible. I want to get to the third round and have everybody wondering whether I'm going to make it or not. Okay.
Well, what would have been the next one you would have picked?
I would have picked the third one.
The third one is 159,364, and that was worth another 3,000 points.
And then I would have picked the first one.
Well, that was the only one left, and that actually was the correct answer, so you didn't have the correct answer.
Oh.
You quit while you were ahead, which is pretty good. You never know what would have happened. 147,517 was the correct answer.
And Vicky Ann, if you don't go over, you're a winner. You bid $89,500 on your showcase, And Vicki Ann, the actual retail price of your showcase is $89,739. You win both showcases. Both showcases. You have won $147,517. Vicki Ann is the biggest winner in Price's Right history daytime. $147,517.
I'm not good at remembering numbers. I don't even know my own telephone number. Okay.
Well, you're doing fine. You're doing just fine. You have 13,000, so keep in mind you need 7,000 points in this round.
Okay, I got it. I got this.
So if you pick the 3,000 and the 4,000, you're in. So here comes round 3, and the question is, what is the highest amount of money a contestant has won playing daytime Plinko during Bob Barker's era of hosting The Price is Right? Now, a little background info. This occurred on September 17th, 2001, and the center Plinko board slot was worth $10,000. So this is a regular playing of Plinko.
Okay.
So what was the highest amount of money contestant has won playing daytime Plinko during Bob Barker's era of hosting The Price is Right? Here are the numbers. 31,000, 23,000, 21,500, 20,100, and 30,500. That's 31,000, 23,000, 21,500, 20,100, and 30,500. So what do you want to pick as your correct answer?
30,500.
30,500, okay? Remember, try to get the 3,000 and the 4,000 so you can get the 7,000.
Okay. I think I got this. Don't I sound like a contestant? I think I got this.
Got this.
Okay. Reveal number 2.
23,000?
Yes.
And 23,000 was the correct answer.
What?
On daytime Plinko, 23,000 was the highest ever won.
She's looking pretty good again. She got it. $23,000. Come on down, Kelly. The biggest winner in Plinko history. $23,000. Back after this.
And are you absolutely sure of that? Are you 100%? Are you just 99% sure?
I have done my research.
I swear to God, it was more than that. In the $10,000 slot, I thought it landed at least 4 times. Wow, okay. Well, I will bow to you. At least I made it exciting, and at least you got a contestant who began to argue with you, which is always fun.
By the way, 20,100 was worth 4,000, and the 21,500 was worth 3,000.
Well, I'm just like all those other contestants who lose.
But you're a winner in my heart.
Oh, thank you, Bradley. That makes it all better.
And did you have fun? That's all that matters.
I had fun, yes. That's what game shows are all about, to have fun and to have a good time and not to take everything so seriously.
Absolutely. Well, Roger, thank you for playing a game that you originally created for The Price is Right, but now with a Bradley Clarke game show trivia twist, gas money. Gas money. Yes, and you played it the correct way. That's right. Well, Roger, this has been such a treat. As a hopefully future game show producer, I've had so much fun talking with you about The Price is Right and as well as about the movie Perfect Bid, The Contestant Who Knew Too Much.
It's been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed talking to you. You know what you're talking about, and your enthusiasm is wonderful. I really enjoyed this hour here.
And you have an open invitation to come back on another episode of the game show. You know, I have so many more questions for you, so if you ever want to come back and talk some more, you have that open invitation.
I will be waiting your message because, you know, as you discovered, I love to talk, and I can certainly fill 3 or 4 more hours for you.
We'll make that a plan. We'll record another episode.
Okay, very good, Bradley.
Roger, thank you again so much for coming on the show. I look forward to having you on the show again, and we're going to play another game, one that you created as well.
Oh, sounds good.
Take care. It's been such a pleasure, and thank you so much. From the bottom of my heart, as a future host and producer of game shows, thank you so much.
Okay, very good. So long, Brad.
All right, bye-bye. Well, that about wraps up this episode of The Game Show. My thanks once again to former executive producer of The Price is Right and one of the stars of the Price is Right documentary, Perfect Bid, the contestant who knew too much, Roger Dobkowitz, for being my guest today. Now, Roger isn't the first guest I've had on The Game Show to talk about The Price is Right. Former Price is Right announcer Rich Fields has joined me on The Game Show, as well as the actual contestant who knew too much, Ted Slauson. You can check out both Rich and Ted's episodes, as well as all of my other episodes of The Game Show, by logging on to www.soundcloud.com/Bradley_Clarke, that's BRADLEY_CLARKE/sets/The Game Show. That's www.soundcloud.com/Bradley_Clarke, that's BRADLEY_CLARKE/sets/The Game Show. Plus, don't forget to like The Game Show starring Bradley Clarke on Facebook and follow The Game Show starring Bradley Clarke on Twitter using the handle @TheGameShowBC and #TheGameShow. And of course, be sure to tune in next time for another exciting episode of The Talk Show, all about the world of television game and competition shows, The Game Show. Bradley Clarke reminding you, help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
This edition of The Game Show was created and produced by Bradley Clarke and was recorded at the WRHU studios. This is Austin Angelo speaking.
The Game Show is a Bradley Clarke production. Get your game on.